power. I got the power, you got the power, we got the power. I got the power, you got the power, we got the power. I got the power, you got the power, we got the power. Hey, hey.
Springtime.
Springtime, the birds are singing.
Singing.
Isn't that beautiful? Probably can't hear them. We have now the Lighting the Flames of Faith ceremony. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life. Should I use a mic?
If you'd like.
I don't know. I can't tell if it's going to be heard.
We can hear you.
Yeah?
Okay.
More on them. We perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings, come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religions, all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. We light the candle for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the candle for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through practice of universal spiritual principles. As Bruce lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
And we have a reading this morning out of our Science of Mind booklets. And we welcome you, all peoples, all cultures, all genders, to the New Thought Center in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, located at the Best Western. Today's title on our reading is The Deeply Inspired. And those of you that are here today are deeply inspired, trust me, because you're here. You are deeply inspired. You are not the momentary whim of a careless creator experimenting in the laboratory of life. And that is a quote by Og Mandino. Dare to fling out into mind the greater assurance about yourself. And that is a Dr. Ernest Holmes quote from the Creative Mind magazine, Science of Mind. Novelist Alice Walker described a couple's euphoria after a much-needed breakthrough with these words, and they slept the sleep of the deeply inspired. This lyrical description left an indelible impression on me, and I marveled how Walker's craft activated within me an all-sensory rush. I fully felt their freedom from restraint. I've often used Walker's phraseology with alternative versions to describe such heightened inner freedom, singing the song of the deeply inspired, living the life of the deeply inspired. When a singer sings from that place of deep inspiration, free from the restraints of outer influence or self-criticism, there is a consummate connection between the hearts of the melodist and listener. When an advanced life choice is made from a place of deep inspiration, free from failed history or unresponsive peers, then this bold decision can cleanse the doubts that restrict and encourage us to continue choosing with similar conviction. What actions characterize you as someone who walks the walk and lives the life of the deeply inspired? And pause for a moment to explore the adverb deeply. Deeply inspired living indicates that something has dismantled the facade, the masks, the rigid structure, any stifling decorum, leaving a heart unbolted and exposed. These daily guides, motivated from the monthly theme of listening to and honoring your heart, are reminders that we are born of purpose, that we are the manifested form of an inspired idea. With this as your heritage, how will you use this month to let your heart take the lead? And our affirmation today is, I live the life of the deeply inspired. So be it. And now we have some music.
All right. Thank you, Sheila. Here we go. This is I Got the Spirit. spirit in me. I got spirit in me. I got spirit in me. I got spirit in me. Got spirit in me. They say that life is a circle, but that ain't the way that I found it. Gonna move in a straight line, keeping my feet firmly on the ground. I heat up, cool down, losing my head, so I say them. Don't let life get me down.
Don't let it get you down.
Hold on my dreams and just play them. I got spirit in me, got spirit in me, got spirit in me. I got spirit in me, got spirit in me, got spirit in me. Feel funky, feel good, gonna tell you. Gonna fly like a bird on the wing, hold on to your hand, honey. Heat up and cool down.
Cool
I
down.
got words in my head, so I say them. Don't let life get me down.
Don't let it get you
I
down.
can hold on my blues and just play them. I got spirit in me, got spirit in me, got spirit in me. I got spirit in me, got spirit in me, I got spirit in me. Yeah. I got spirit in me, got spirit in me, I got spirit in me.
I got spirit in me.
Got spirit in me, got spirit in me. Whoa, yeah. I want to interject a little something here because it's always fun to interject. I want to let you all know about an ally that you have with you constantly, but because we were taught differently about the word, it seems like it's just the word. It's an ally that's with you always. It will be here with you at the greatest moment when it comes time to leave here, and it's a time that it's always with you 24/7. It's part of us. It's our connection with God. It's our connection with everything. It's a connection with everything. Just consider a hummingbird. Consider an osprey, and you think exactly, it comes right to mind. Consider that osprey. He's looking down at the lake and he sees a fish down there. He goes into a power dive, getting close. All he has on his mind is that fish. You're imagining that, right? A hummingbird, it comes into being. It's like the greatest little thing you've ever seen. It's this energy point. I'm talking about imagination. It is more than what they taught us. It's not imagine. It is your being. It's part of your being. I think the higher beings in the universe, they understand that imagination is their connective spirit with God. It's like, it is God. And when we think of the things that aren't going right, then we understand through imagination and intelligence, well, it was the inception to begin with, but then it wavered through its cultural upbringing, its atmosphere, but it wavered. But it's still a spark of the divine. So when we think of the things that are going wrong, you immediately come to that conclusion that, well, it just wavered, but it's still part of the essence of the divine. So I just want to bring that point to mind. Let's take imagination more seriously. It's like our greatest gift that we ever could have. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's the time of our service where we do a brief meditation, just to center ourselves for what inspiring words we will hear from our speaker later today. So I invite you to settle in, feel yourself supported by the chair, by the floor, and go within. Know that in this moment, in each and every moment of your existence, that you are inspired, for you are in spirit. There is no other place to be. So be at peace in your inspiration, knowing and trusting that all is well. As we enter that place in our planet's elliptical around our sun, our star, and we turn our face to shine at it, to shine back to it, feeling its warmth, its life-giving energy, and seeing that life-giving energy stimulate and activate the bulbs of flowers in the ground, the animals to take up joyous song. Let us allow this energy to activate within us our true path, to know, to be inspired with the truth of our being, to guide our actions and our words. Just as this divine truth guides our speaker's words today, I know that each of us here hears something that we needed to hear, that we are touched, we are inspired, for we are in spirit. And for that, we give thanks. I invite you to take a deep breath. Return your full consciousness back to the room. Fully centered and present.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're very welcome.
Words of wisdom from Shayla.
Good morning. And as Teresa mentioned, the joyous song of the animals. Some of you may have been hearing and listening to the Canadian geese out back. And we have two of them that are pronouncing love to one another right now. And what a perfect time. You know, you may not know much about the Canadian geese, but they mate for life. And whenever they are migrating and they're traveling in a V form, there's a leader of that group. When that leader tires, he or she falls back and another one takes over to guide the group. So it's really awesome the way that they are community geese, and maybe it's called a gaggle. Maybe I made up that word. Does anyone know what a group of geese are called? Gaggle? Did I say that? Okay, great. Okay, so they're just reminding us of spring and love and pronouncing their heart's desires for one another. So the title I chose today is The Road Less Taken. Now, a lot of you have heard of the road less traveled, but I chose the word taken because that means we have a choice. And so today we're going to be talking about decisions and choices and the roadmap that you've created for your life. And your roadmap has many roads on it. There's a blank piece of paper on your chair I handed out earlier, and that is for you, if you would take a moment in time when you go home sometime in a quiet space, write out your roadmap in life, and you can write down those roads, like the road to college, okay? And then what occurred after making that decision to say to go to college or go to a further training or start a career, start a family. We all have those roads whenever you decided to choose a life mate. These are all roads, and these roads and intersections and forks in the roads all describe a time in your life when you were making decisions, sorting out things, weighing and balancing perhaps, or you just let your heart take over and lead the way. So that is what we'll be talking about today. I have a quote from C.S. Lewis. Life with God is not immunity from difficulties, but peace in difficulties. And so, with that in mind, during this perhaps difficult time in our lives of what's going on our globe, our transitioning, we can find true peace by being aware that we have, some of us, it could be an imaginary partner, but an invisible partner called God. And that you're never really truly alone. We hear these words, but this is the time now where we can really pull in and feel the essence of a life force that is not totally ours. We have our life force. Some of us haven't even tapped into our own life force because we've been so busy in life with our busyness and staying away from those quiet times. So this has been a great opportunity, a blessing in disguise for people to get maybe more in touch with that side of themselves. In Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. You will never be abandoned and you will never be alone. Know that there's another force that is speaking within you. In his book, The Road Less Traveled, M. Scott Peck, and I never did find out what that M represented, but M. Scott Peck, in The Road Less Traveled, is about confronting and solving problems is a painful process which most of us attempt to avoid. Avoiding resolution results in greater pain and an inability to grow both mentally and spiritually. And so a lot of us at the New Thought Center, what the New Thought means is that we are open to many avenues, many ways. And there isn't just one way or one righteousness. There are many. And that's why we honor all the religions and faiths of the world, because we each have a piece, and some of us are putting those pieces together in the puzzle of life. And so we're gathering from many places. A New Thought is about open mind and open heart, and open arms, and open doors for us. So know that whenever somebody says, oh, they're a New Thought minister or a New Thought community, it represents many avenues and paths and roads and choices. So the other books that M. Scott Peck wrote, A World Waiting to be Born. And we've talked about rebirthing our souls and creating our own new worlds during this time. So this might be a timely book. Some authors and muses and songwriters are many times ahead of their time, but they've been given the vision. And so when you've been given a vision, it is your responsibility to share it with the world. And I know all of you have a lot to share with the world, whether it's timely or not. And those of us that have been ahead of the curve of the time, meaning that when the peoples, the masses are ready, we've been criticized. We've been called odd or weird. One of my favorite sayings is, if you're not called weird, you're not doing it right. Because Lord forbid if you want to be common and just blend in. But yet there are those of us that is our very purpose to blend in and hold the space so that others can thrive too. So anyway, his other books that he wrote were, and I think these are also timely too, People of the Lie and The Different Drum. So you might look into some of these. I mean, The Road Less Traveled was written in 1978. But the words, like the Bible, there are many words in it, like the Quran, there are many words in it, Kabbalah, that will resonate with you always. They're universal truth. So I'd like to share with you a really famous poem that caused debate groups. It caused people to gather, those that were very fond of journalism and published works and defining what that author meant. A lot of us are always discussing how we all interpreted the words, once again, of these famous books I just mentioned. And this poem caused a lot of, it was written in 1915 by Robert Frost. And it's called The Road Not Taken. And you can look it up online and reread it to yourself again if you'd like. And it goes like this. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveler long I stood. And looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though for as that the passing there had really word then about the same, and both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads to way, I decided if I should ever come back, I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere again and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. So many, you can see how many groups sprouted up to discuss what exactly did he mean about all of this. And so once again, we have all been presented as a world. We are at a fork roads in the world right now. What are we going to do from here on out? How are we going to treat this planet? How are we going to treat each other? What other choices have popped up for me since this time, and what we have all had to endure? And I think is a beautiful thing. For those of us that were going too fast, we've slowed down. And for those of us that like less population, and I don't mean with the death rate, I'm not referring to that. I'm referring with less population in driving, no traffic jams. Of course, we're in Pagosa Springs. What's a traffic jam? Anyway, so, we're enjoying less roads on the highway. My daughter works for the state of California in human resources and in human services. And the interstates are just clogged constantly, and the pollution and all those things that the big cities and big populations have to face every single day of their lives. And she was always so stressed with the driving, just driving back and forth to work. And so she said the roads are more clear now. And guess what? I get to work at home now. And her heart is so much happier because of the stress levels going down. And so I want you on your roadmap also to write how this last fork in the road of this global transition has affected you, and maybe some other decisions you've made to yourself and to your community, and how that expression is going to look. So when we make these decisions, we want to base them not out of fear, but about the possibility of what might happen with that decision. I think maybe I'll try this. Maybe I'll start a new business. Maybe I'll stop doing what I've been doing because it really didn't serve my spirit to begin with. What was I thinking or feeling? And so we are all making more decisions now. Little ones that are really going to turn the angle of the road that you've been taking, the path that you've been taking. They say if you make just a 2-degree turn in a decision, then down the path you're going to be so much further out. Maybe in left field, who knows? So much further out in this direction because of that little shift inside of yourself. And so I invite you to make those little shifts within yourselves. And some of us have already. And we still don't know the outcome, and we don't know what it's going to look like. But to be courageous and brave and believe in that. And then use each other to pray together and do treatment together to support your hopes, wishes, and dreams that maybe got put under a rock a long time ago. Rediscover yourself, and maybe you'll find a new you. I would like to share that when making decisions, we are actively embracing our hearts and looking inward as opposed to the logical, fearful mind state that some of us have experienced. And so the lead path that we choose, I hope you choose one of courage, belief, your true desires. Let's pull those out from under our hat that maybe we've been wearing under a hat all this time. And to open that crown chakra up and let your true desires to come in, to hit your heart space and your all-knowing, and then express it in yet a new chakra that's developing in front of our bodies right now, coming from your third eye, your throat chakra, and your heart. It's right here. And then we're going to all connect in the universal love that's always been ours. It's a hard concept in this human body and what we've been given in this dimension. But you know what? We are all doing it. We can do it, and we will do it. I have a new friend in my life. Her name is Dr. Susan Fay, and she wrote a great book called Sacred Spaces. Now, her book is about your intuitive body, your feeling body, and helping you gather the courage and try something new and be one with your intuitive body. And her specialty is communication with horses. So a lot of these principles, though, apply to the humans, because a lot of times our animals teach us through communicating with them, through loving them, how we can start to treat our fellow man and woman. So here are some of her highlights from Sacred Spaces, and she talks about the gift that we all have. And we've talked about this before. My husband Bruce has brought it up. Our biggest gift, what we were given when we were born. We have everything, all of our gifts. And one that I truly like to hang with is the heart gift. And in your heart, your intuition resides because it is all-knowing. So in the gift, she says, it's the ability to control your thoughts and emotions, the capacity to understand yourself inside and out. This is a great time for that, isn't it? A desire to perceive the world from another's perspective and speak their language. So maybe we have some new languages coming in for ourselves. An eagerness to learn how to speak a universal language. An awareness of an energy field and how to tap into it and to know more and to know love. The capacity to stay in the present moment so you can be. A commitment to slowing down mentally, physically, and emotionally. The passion to connect with another being, heart to heart, mind to mind. The ability to keep an open mind, loving heart, and lay over our attitudes with others. You've heard that term before, a layover at the airport. Have you ever gotten stuck in a layover? Okay, well, I think we're all in a layover right now, right? We sort of are in a holding position, and that layover may be for you to stop and communicate with another person, another being that maybe you haven't taken the time to communicate with. You know, make new friends. Get to know your old friends a little better. Maybe call up a family member that you know is hurting and suffering. And I know we know a lot of people right now that are hurting and suffering. And so in our compassionate hearts, reach out to them. And we don't need to make the excuses of, they don't have the time. Where will I find the time? I have found lately, I have had great 1 and 2 hour conversations with people on the phone. I'm not texting, I'm talking. And maybe you are too. So pick up the phone, visit with others you haven't maybe talked to for a long time. Some of us know that they have pain in their hearts, or maybe they've discovered something new that you don't even know about yet. And they have something to share with you, to spur you on to go down the road less taken, to find the heart road and the heart path back. And so I invite all of you today to re-examine the roadmap of your life, all the roads, maybe less taken, the well-worn roads that you took with others, and maybe discover some new ones and build your own road. Become a road builder, a new map maker to new universes that reside inside and outside, and for all of us to share with each other. And so be it. And I thank you, and I'm going to close with a short prayer. Creator, we thank you for all the decisions and the forks in the roads that we have had to make in our lives. Some with good possibilities and some maybe not so good. But to know that we are never alone, that we are born social, we were born to connect, we are humans, and to know that we have many, not in a human bodies, that are here to help us also. The angelic realms, God, Creator, always walking with us, and for those who may have passed before us. We thank you now for all of these teams of invisible forces, the life force, the love force that we were born to experience. And we thank you in deep gratitude for all the blessings and disguises, all the masks that we've worn, and to know the truth underneath. We thank you once again for this opportunity to join together and to be one. So be it, and so it is, as above, so below. Let it flow. And now, with the flow, we're having an offering, and you may visit the offering basket in the back of the room if you would like. And for those of you that weren't able to make it in the physical today at the New Thought Center, you can send your donations into the New Thought Center, P.O. Box 1052, Pagosa Springs, Colorado 81147. And that's P.O. Box 1052, Pagosa Springs, Colorado 81147. And we thank you for that blessing.
close out with a great song from the 60s. Everyday People. We're gonna slow it down a little bit. Yeah, let's get in the groove. Yeah, very gentle. Sometimes I'm right, but I could be wrong. My own beliefs all in my song. The butcher, the baker, the drummer in them. Makes no difference what group I'm in. I'm everyday people. Yeah, yeah.
There is a blue one who can't accept the green one. Different pattern, trying to be as many one. Different strokes, but different folks. So one is Scooby Dooby Doo.
Ah, sha, sha. We gotta live together. I am no better, and neither are you. We are the same, whatever we do. You love me, you hate me, you know me, and then you can't figure out the bag I'm in. I'm everyday people. Yeah, yeah.
There is a long-haired doesn't like the short-haired. Dreams and a vision one and will not help the poor one. Different strokes, but different folks. So on and so on, it's Scooby Dooby Doo.
Ah, sha, sha. We gotta live together.
There is a yellow one that won't accept the black one, that won't accept the red one, that won't accept the white one. Different strokes, but different folks. So on and so on, it's Scooby Dooby Doo.
Ah, sha, sha. I'm everyday people. Yeah. Thank you all so much. Have a wondrous week.